All right, growing concern as we move on over alcohol companies using Twitter to target a young and potentially underage audience has prompted calls for greater regulation of social media.
Yeah, Australian researchers tracked promotion on Twitter by 7 of the world's biggest alcohol brands and found retweets and hashtags were the main tactics used to plug products, which increases the risk of them being seen by users aged under 18.
So, should there be tougher regulations in place for alcohol promotion on social media? Joining us now with more, marketing expert Matthew Bywater and James Pitt, CEO at Odyssey House. Gentlemen, good morning to you. Thanks for coming in.
Good morning.
Matthew, we're going to start with you. Are alcohol companies, in your opinion, deliberately targeting that younger demographic?
Well, I think alcohol's always targeted younger demographics because it's the new market, if you like, and it's also a growing market, particularly in a lot of parts of the world. The question really is, are they targeting underage drinkers, which probably is more of a moral and ethical concern? That's debatable, but we do know with social media it's very hard to contain.
Okay,
There's no filters.
Well, that's right. The study
filters.
found retweets, hashtags were the biggest culprits. How? How's this translating into sales of alcohol to kids?
Well, a couple of reasons why retweets and hashtags are so powerful. One is there is some filtering on particularly Facebook. There's some third-party apps for Twitter where you can actually age restrict where your advertisements go to, but that doesn't restrict where actually a retweet or hashtag will go to. The other thing is, remember, when it's a retweet, is that what that person as an individual is actually endorsing that product. And there's nothing more powerful than one of your friends endorsing something, more powerful than the company saying it themselves.
All right, James, let's bring you in here. Can this type of exposure be harmful to teens and potential underage drinkers? Do you think people are being connected with alcohol and alcohol products via this medium?
Look, I certainly think so. I don't think that they would go to the trouble of putting the advertising on the social media unless it was going to be effective. One of the things that certainly we see at Odyssey House now is that there's a much younger group of people coming in who nominate alcohol as their primary drug of concern. Mm-hmm. And also 70% of all of the people who participate in our program nominate alcohol as having some negative impact on us. So it's the kind of thing, particularly for younger people, that you try to prevent because of the health impact, certainly brain development, things like that. So it's a concern.
So if you're seeing increasing numbers of young people, do you put any of that down to social media?
I don't know if you put it down to social media per se. But I certainly think that, but you know, as we know, I mean, certainly it's a very, very impactful delivery source, and I think that so for the general population, I think that you may see increasing numbers of people who may start to use alcohol.
Matthew, as with everything that's happening in cyberspace, this is going to be a very difficult train to stop.
It's hugely different. I mean, there is potential to develop some more software apps to try and restrict it, but you can't restrict it. And there's actually a stat out recently, started in Europe and it's been replicated throughout the world, that 80% of children are lying about their age on whatever social media platform. Yeah. So you can put these age restrictions in on advertising companies, but you can't actually stop what actually the users are actually doing. And I hate to say this because this is not my realm, not my area of expertise, but you know, good parenting. You know, you've got to watch your children, what programs are on. You've got to be close to your children. You actually have to get there, and you can't take away from it. Because if you're going to live in a social, digital age, this is going to be one of the downfalls of it.
James, shouldn't these big alcohol brands and companies be held accountable?
Look, I think that there's regulations for, you know, on mainstream media when you can advertise, you know, what type of advertising you can do. And I think the same, it just makes sense that the same should apply to social media. It's become such a huge, platform for everybody, and I think that that's something that certainly needs to be looked at.
All right, gentlemen, lots to talk about with this one. Thank you very much for coming by today.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.